Hello everybody! In today's video, we are going to look at a vintage laptop computer that was generously gifted to me by my good friend and a friend of the channel, Evangeline Domenech, in 2021. And I feel bad that it's taken me this long to get to this video, but taking years to make videos of things is pretty much the theme of this channel now. This computer was part of a package that I unboxed on video in 2021. It's an IBM ThinkPad T40 from 2003, and it is a really, really nice example. This thing is pretty much mint. As you can see, the top cover here has some scratches on it. I did receive the computer in perfect condition. Even this was perfect. Unfortunately, just being stored with my other laptops seems to have scratched it up a little bit. That is too bad. Although this rubberized coating on these ThinkPads, that does seem to happen quite easily. I love old ThinkPads. They are some of my favorite laptops, and this is actually the first vintage ThinkPad that I've ever owned. The oldest ThinkPad I owned before this was my trusty old T400 that I miss very dearly. It suffered from a motherboard failure. I think I still have it for some darn reason. I really just got to throw it on eBay for parts. But that was the oldest ThinkPad I had until this one. And I just love old ThinkPads. So 2003, this is a Pentium M machine, and it runs Windows XP, of course. Ava had actually done something very cool when she gave this to me. She installed Windows 98 on it, and that's how it was shipped to me. Windows 98 is officially supported on this computer. However, for some reason, between when I got it and now making this video, something happened. I have no memory of what. I don't know if it was random or if I accidentally did something, but I borked the Windows 98 installation. So what I decided to do was just install Windows XP on it using the original OEM installation media, which you can get, I think, from the Internet Archive. But this thing's pretty swell. It's a great little Windows XP machine, and you can see right now just how nice of a shape that this thing's in. I actually have one other ThinkPad, one that I bought from Facebook Marketplace, I think a few months after I got this one. That one's an R51, and I will make a video of that at some point. But ever since I got the R51, I've been using that computer instead of this one. I put Windows XP on the R51, and I've been using the R51 rather than this because I wanted to preserve this and preserve the Windows 98 installation on it until I made the video of it, because I wanted to show it with the software that Ava was kind enough to put on it for me. But after finding out that the installation was broken, and I did attempt to fix it, I tried the previous good registry, the registry checker. Have no idea what went wrong. So I decided just to reformat it, put the OEM software on it. So now we're going to take a look at this thing. And I think I'll keep Windows XP on this thing. I had some weird issues with Windows XP on the R51. They may have been caused by myself, I'm not sure. But I have not had those issues with this machine, so I think I'll keep this running Windows XP. And I'll put something else, maybe Linux or something, on the R51. And we'll look at the R51 in a video in the future. But here's this thing. It's a really nice machine. It's got a 1024 by 768 display. Take a look at that. You got the old Pentium M sticker. That's pretty cool. Usually you see the newer style. So, looking at the ports. It does have an infrared port. We've got an S-video output, which is kind of neat. Got modem and Ethernet. Got your USB or analog audio. Got PC card slots. Got a parallel port, no serial though. Your DC input. Got your VGA, And you got your Ultra Bay right here, which has got a CDRW DVD-ROM drive in it. This is the Ultra Bay Slim, which is not quite as varied in stuff that you could put in here as the earlier Ultra Bays. You had your choice of two different optical drives, either a DVD-ROM or this CDRW DVD-ROM, a hard drive adapter for a second hard drive, a battery for a second battery, or maybe the most interesting, and if I had to guess the rarest option, a serial and parallel port adapter. It would give you a serial port and a second parallel port. That would actually be kind of neat to find one of those. Older ThinkPads with the older types of Ultra Bays, they had so many more options. Floppy drives, zip drives, an LS120 drive. It started, the options started decreasing once you got to this point. Of course, people weren't depending on magnetic removable media as much as they used to. But still pretty cool. And you flip that lever and this pops out and you yank on it, and there you go. Tells you what it is. It's hot swappable, I do believe. You just have to tell a piece of software that you want to remove it, and it prepares it for removal. And there's your lot. We've got a Windows XP Professional license on it. And the battery is an original IBM battery. I'm not sure if it's the original, but it is an IBM battery. Let's see, is there a date on this thing? It's made in China. It's the 4.4 amp hour battery. I believe this was the standard size battery. And it's still somewhat good. I get about half an hour, 45 minutes out of it. However, I'm always having to be careful when I charge this thing, because a couple of times when I've gone to charge it, the battery has gotten very hot. And I don't know if it's just the charge controller board inside it getting hot, or are the cells themselves getting hot. In my older and wiser years, I'm becoming more wary of lithium-ion batteries. So I'm always just careful when I plug this thing in, but usually it's fine. There's where you yank your hard drive out. There's where you change out the RAM. This thing's got a gigabyte of RAM in it. She actually gave it to me with a gigabyte of RAM, which is kind of funny for having run Windows 98. Generally, the recommended maximum for Windows 98 is 512 megabytes, but it was running with a gig. Then again, maybe that's why it ended up breaking. I don't know. There you go. Oh, and there's the manufacture date, 04 of 03. So, I think the battery's at least somewhat charged. Let's turn this thing on. There you go. I really love the red, green, and blue IBM logo. It's one of my favorite design elements of these ThinkPads. Oh yeah, this thing hibernated because the battery died, so it's gonna pop right back to who knows what I was doing. Probably playing Minesweeper or something. Oh, right, I was shutting down. I was shutting down, and it decided to hibernate during the process of shutting down. Great, Windows. Well, while it's doing that, I'll turn on the Think light. Just the FN key and then the page up key, and there's your Think light, little white LED light. Very cool feature of these ThinkPads. Oh, is my battery dying again? Or it might have just been beeping because it was shutting off. So let's try turning it back on again. Yeah, I would say the battery is... Yeah, at the very least it thinks the battery's dying. So I gotta plug it in here before it rudely shuts off. If I can try and find the DC input. There we go. And this is the original IBM system software. So it installed Service Pack 1 of Windows XP from the OEM disks. And then I upgraded it the rest of the way using Windows Update Restored, which is a very cool community-driven project where older versions of Windows, basically between 98 and XP, or maybe even 95 and XP, you can go to a website that emulates the old Windows Update websites, and they have multiple versions depending on which version of Windows you're running and how retro you want to get. And it installs the updates just like it would have been back in the day. It's so cool if you're looking to emulate the original vintage computing experience. We appear to have stalled. There you can see the original background. And you can see, in addition to the trackpad with the 2 sets of mouse buttons, which I like, we do have the track point. That works as well. It's very sensitive on this one. Dedicated volume buttons and a mute button, which is very cool. That appears to be a built-in microphone. And good old Windows XP's decided to take a nap, apparently, so I guess I'm going to shut the camera off and wait for it to do something. Alright, here we are. It took a couple of minutes, but it eventually got out of its stupor. It's a pretty bare bones installation right now. I don't have much installed besides the updates. Supermium, which is the cool Chromium-based web browser that I've spoken about before. Community effort to have an up-to-date web browser for Windows XP and Vista. And I've got Microsoft Office 2000 installed as well, my favorite version of Microsoft Office. It got me through my middle school and high school years, at least part of my high school years, because it was one of the first pieces of software I ever pirated. But yeah, I love Office 2000. And I'm using Front Page 2000 to hopefully eventually rebuild my website. I had a website a long time ago, a few years ago, ran it on a vintage computer. I shut it down after a while. I would like to get it going again. So I'm going to make it a bit different. I'm going to make it, I want to try and host it from a computer running MS-DOS, probably one of my Socket 3 machines. However, the web server software that I've chosen to use does not like some of the things that Front Page does with like graphical banners. It gives them long file names that the web server software does not play ball with. So I'm going to have to make it even more bare bones with just plain text. Inline images and stuff works fine. It's just the built-in themes and banners that Front Page does. It doesn't like it, but anyway, I'm using this machine to do that. And my R51, I actually booted it up fairly often. My printer does not work with anything newer than, I think, Windows 7 or 8. So whenever I have to print something, I would fire up my R51 to connect to the printer to do that. I'm going to do that with this machine now. I'm going to start using this machine for my older Windows needs rather than the R51. But let's take a look. So you can see it's got the IBM logo there. It is a 1.5 gigahertz Pentium M. Not exactly a powerhouse. And the gigabyte of RAM. Support information. What do we got? Oh, yes. Wow. Neat. Yeah, not the fastest Pentium M. Far from the fastest Pentium M. They went up to at least 2 gigahertz, I believe. A younger version of me would have been all out on like going on eBay, buying the fastest Pentium M that I could find for a reasonable price and upgrading this thing. I'm not that person anymore. I really don't care. It's it's a 20-year-old computer. It's gonna be slow no matter what I throw in it. So I might as well make the best with what I've got. I'll bump the RAM up to 2 gigs. I got 2 gigs in the R51. I'll move. Actually, I want to keep 2 gigs in the R51. So I'll see if I can scrounge up another gig for this thing. If not, maybe I'll just keep it at a gig. Seems to be running all right. But yeah, there we go. So other hardware stuff, the graphics in this thing is pretty nice for the time. It's got a ATI Radeon 7500. And yeah, let's just hop on the web here. I'll show you how that runs. Spoiler, it's not well. But it'll you know, if I need to download something to print or whatever, it does the job. I do have to defragment the hard drive. I've never defragged the hard drive since installing the software, so I'm sure that it's extremely fragmented. You can see it's got the battery tool here. So much of the IBM software on here never changed between this computer and my ThinkPad X130E that I used to have from 2012. 10 years apart, and so much of this stuff barely changed. Actually, the sound effects, IBM includes their own sound effects to let you know that the battery's dying or whatever. Even those never changed between this machine and my X130E. It's kind of funny. I guess I'll show you the other piece of software. Oh, it's right down here. They give it its own special spot in the start menu. Access IBM. So if I turn the volume up here and open that up, it's probably going to take a minute because it's busy preparing a web browser. Shout out to Jack Stavros. I never knew that the jingle that he had at the beginning of his YouTube videos for years originated from here. And yeah, this is Access IBM, your guide to a host of information sources and tools. And I've never actually dug into this. Do we have cool stuff? I always liked the Windows XP tour that the Windows XP comes with, the like flash animated tour. Is this similar? No, I guess it's just Windows help based. It's kind of neat though. It's all hyperlinked. Oh, interesting. And apparently we have an 80 gig hard drive apparently. Was that original? Did this come with a hard drive that big in 2003? ThinkWiki T40. ThinkWiki, great website for not just older ThinkPads, all ThinkPads. Finding out when they were introduced, what hardware options were available. I am connected to the internet through an 802.11b network being provided by a vintage Linksys WAP11 wireless access point that is in turn connected to my own router, a computer running the OpenSense router software. You piece of junk! Fix my internet, just had a setting wrong on the router. It looks like this thing really did come with an 80 gig hard drive. At least that was the top option. That's pretty impressive, because I mean, how many years later? It was 5 years later My dad's Dell Inspiron 1525, that had a 120 gig hard drive. So 80 gigs in 2003, that's pretty impressive. Now, this thing is really quite loaded down with this web browser open, but just for funsies, we'll see if we can load up YouTube here and attempt to play a video. It's obviously not going to be able to play a video at anything more than 240p resolution, maybe 360. But we'll just see what it does here. This thing is really behaving quite slowly. The R51 was a bit more competent on the internet than this thing is behaving, and I'm wondering if it's because it has half the amount of RAM. Even though, according to the task manager, not that much RAM's being used right now. The hard drive's not thrashing. It just appears to be, the CPU appears to just be loaded way down. With the lights turned out, here's what the Think light looks like, lighting up the keyboard. Pretty nice, a good solution back in the day before a backlit keyboard was a normal option for a laptop to have. And yeah, I tried pulling up one of my YouTube videos and it just ain't gonna do it. The R51 will do it. But this thing will not. And I mean, they're based on even though there's a couple of years difference between them, they are based on the exact same hardware. The only difference is this thing has half the amount of RAM. So unless it's a software thing, that's the only thing I can think of that would be the issue. So I'm just going to give up here. Before I go, I'll show you some of the other IBM bloatware that was installed. IBM DLA, I don't even know what that is. It's something to do with the optical drive letter access. An invaluable utility. Drag and drop files from your hard drive to your CD or DVD recorder as easily as you would a floppy disk. Okay, so it's a way to like random access read and write files to a CDR, I guess. Which is kind of neat, I guess. Windows XP, I guess, didn't have that function. I think Vista was what started that. IBM Record Now is a CD burning program by a company called Sonic Solutions. You can copy a disc, create a music disc, or create a data disc. So that was kind of neat, I guess. I think, doesn't Windows XP give you a way to burn files onto a CD? I thought so, but maybe I'm wrong. You get Inner Video Win DVD, and Norton Antivirus 2003, PC Doctor for Windows. Presumably this is going to be no Norton utilities or PC tools. It already looks very, very underwhelming. Wow. Okay. This is actually a little bit neat. Just a fragmenter, I'll run that later. Huh, interesting. I wonder if this is something IBM commissioned, or is it just an off-the-shelf thing? It's very, it does not adhere to the standard Windows APIs for UI design. It looks very homebrew. Interesting. It's even got the old icons. It's got like the Windows 98 or 2000 control panel and computer icons. Weird. What a funny little program. Okay, I've got to stop there. I want to thank you so much for watching. this video of the IBM ThinkPad T40 laptop from 2003, a very nice vintage laptop, and I would like to thank Evangeline Domenech, a good friend of mine, for very generously giving me this computer. I do like it a lot. It's here to stay, and I'm looking forward to finally using it more after mostly having it stored for 2 or 3 years. I'm going to keep working on it, going to see if I can make it run a bit better. It's not giving me the weird software issues that the R51 was giving me, but it's running quite a lot slower than the R51 was. So I'll give it a defragment, might bump the RAM up to 2 gigs, see if that's cures what ails it. But I'm very excited to have this nonetheless. Look forward to using it. And in a future video, we will look at that R51. Thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.